Hello and welcome back. Today we are going to look at yet another lesson from Standard 12th English, the Flamingo book. Today we are going to look at a poem which is the second poem, and the name of the poem is An Elementary School Classroom in a Slum. Now, I have divided the discussion on this particular poem into three parts. So, this is part 1. Also, note that this poem has been written by Stephen Spender. Now, before we begin with the poem, let us have a look at the author. Stephen Spender was an English poet and an essayist. He left University College, Oxford, without taking a degree and went to Berlin in 1930. He took keen interest in politics, so he was a socialist and a pacifist. Now, this particular thing is very important in context of this poem, An Elementary School Classroom in a Slum. The various books that he has written are Poems of Dedication, The Edge of Being, The Creative Element, The Struggle of the Modern, and an autobiography, World Within World. In this particular poem, Spender has concentrated on themes of social injustice and class inequalities. So, this is how his socialist side is reflected through this particular poem. Background: An Elementary School Classroom in a Slum is a beautifully penned down poem by Stephen Spender that exposes the glaring gaps and marginalization that occurs ever so often in our societies. Spender is publicly a scrupulous objector and a socialist. The poet aims to portray the conditions of the youngsters residing in the slum. The poet compares the conditions of the haves, who are the privileged children, the so called rich ones, and the have nots, underprivileged children of slum. Now let us just read the poem once. Far, far from gusty waves, these children's faces look rootless like weeds, the hair torn round their pallor. The tall girl with her weighed down head, the paper seeming boy with rat's eyes, the stunted, unlucky heir of twisted bones reciting a father's gnarled disease, his lesson from his desk. At back of the dim class, one unnoted, sweet and young, his eyes live in a dream of squirrel's game in tree room other than this. On sour cream walls, donations, Shakespeare's head, cloudless at dawn, civilized dome riding all cities, belled flowery Tyrolese valley, open handed map awarding the world its world, and yet for these children, these windows, not this map, their world, were all their futures painted with a fog. A narrow street sealed in with a lead sky, far, far from rivers, capes, and stars of words. Surely Shakespeare is wicked, the map a bad example, with ships and sun and love tempting them to steal, for lives that slyly turn in their cramped holes from fog to endless night. On their slag heap, these children wear skins peeped through by bones and spectacles of steel, with mended glass, like bottle bits on stones. All of their time and space are foggy slum. So blot their maps with slums as big as doom. Unless governor, inspector, visitor, this map becomes their window, and these windows that shut upon their lives like catacombs Break, oh break open till they break the town, and show the children to green fields and make their world run azure on gold sands, and let their tongues run naked into books, the white and green leaves open, history theirs whose language is the sun. Far, far from gusty waves, these children's faces like rootless weeds, the hair torn round their pallor. The poem describes an elementary school classroom in a slum. Elementary meaning the most basic, okay? It's a sort of a primary school. The children staying in slums have a life full of struggle and lack hope and optimism. Obviously, because they're poor and they do not have anything really to look forward to. They don't have any means of escape from this life of poverty. They are far away from the velvety world outside, that is, the beautiful, um, you know, rich and ostentatious world. They lack those amenities which are available to privileged people. They are like rootless weeds as they lack proper nutrition. They are as unwanted as the rootless weeds. They can only wish for the velvety and comfortable life of the world outside. These children have no hope on their faces. So they are trapped in their life of poverty and they cannot escape this life of poverty and live a comfortable life where they will have all the amenities to enjoy. These slum children look very pathetic. Their faces are tousled and dirty. Their hair is scattered untidily around their pale faces, so they do not have any sense of personal maintenance. They don't groom themselves, they don't have the taste also, and also the means. Their faces reflect sadness. Moreover, they are unwanted plants which grow on their own without being cared for. They are totally neglected and they lack stability. So it is a very sad picture that the poet begins to portray through the opening lines of his poem. The tall girl with her weighed down head, the paper seeming boy with rat's eyes, the stunted, unlucky heir of twisted bones reciting a father's gnarled disease, his lesson from his desk. So now over here the poet gives a description of a few particular children that he notices within the classroom. So there is a tall girl, there is a very thin boy, and there is, um, for the time being, only these two are described. So let us see what the poet describes. The tall girl has a weighed down head as she is burdened with the load of poverty. In fact, she is so subdued and suppressed that her head has bowed down with the burden of her misfortunes. The paper thin, that is extremely thin boy, has the eyes of a rat, like that is, his eyes look just like that of a rat because the poor undernourished boy is deprived of all the basic amenities of life. So he is very, very thin, very skinny. His eyes seem to bulge out of his eye socket. His, he is timid like a rat and full of anxiety. He searches for food and security. This unfortunate boy suffers from malnutrition and his growth is also stunted. So, the meaning of stunted, we basically use the word stunted with any crop or any grass or any plant whose growth is not proper, whose growth has stopped. So, this unfortunate boy's growth also seems to have stopped. He is not properly developed. He also has inherited his father's twisted bones, bent and distorted bones. So maybe his father, he suffered from some disease, we can say perhaps polio or something, we don't know what it was. He has inherited this from his father, and he has also inherited the poverty, the disease, the despair of being poor from his parents. So his body is also deformed because of the twisted bones which he has inherited. He appears to be as sick as his parents. He is not reciting a lesson from his desk, but it seems as if he is enumerating the diseases inherited from his father. It's almost like he is reciting, his appearance recites the things that he has inherited from his father. At back of the dim class, one unnoted, sweet and young. His eyes live in a dream of squirrel's game in tree room other than this. So this description is of a third boy who is sitting at the back of the classroom, and he is very different from others. So there is a sweet, tender looking student who sits at the back of the class. This boy is different from the others as his eyes live in a dream. So he is a daydreamer, he is dreaming and he is probably thinking about a better future. He is lost in his own world, therefore he is not sad like the others. This boy thinks of the squirrel's game. He wants to enjoy and play freely like the squirrel in the garden outside. So he wants to break free almost from this poverty and he wants to experience the world. So squirrel's game over here is used as a metaphor. The squirrel climbs trees and hides in their holes. The boy also dreams to be free, but he cannot as he must sit in the dull and dreary classroom. In the boy's imagination, tree room, the hollow in a tree, is full of fun, curiosity, and mystery. This is in contrast to the gloomy classroom. So obviously, the boy, he wants to leave the classroom. He dreams of leaving the classroom. Now, classroom here stands for his poor life, his unstable life, his life which is full of burdens. So he wants to escape that and he wants to venture out into the outside world where he can have many adventures, just like a squirrel which roams around and it plays in the garden. He is lost in his imagination, creating his own fantasy world where he plays like a squirrel in its tree room. He is not interested in the monotonous environment of the classroom. So, this boy, unlike the tall girl and the paper thin boy, he is a little different. On sour cream walls, donations, Shakespeare's head. Cloudless at dawn, civilized dome riding all cities. So, the classroom is all obviously not well maintained. The pale colored, cream colored walls, which were painted long ago with the help of donations, make the place look more miserable and sad. Now, see, you will notice that the word sour is used. Now, sour is not a very good taste. Okay, so and something going sour means it is rotten. It gets spoiled. So this can also be looked at as a metaphor where the dreams of the children get spoiled in this classroom, which is in the slum. Probably there is a portrait of Shakespeare on the wall. So, Shakespeare, as we know, he is the greatest writer of English of all times. The poet further compares the gifts given as donations and the picture of Shakespeare hung on the unpleasant creamy walls depicting dejection. So, this portrayal of the sour cream walls, the photo of Shakespeare all this lead to their sadness. To them, they are of no use as there is no serious teaching in the classroom. Okay, a person who is hungry, a person who is poor will have definitely no interest in reading literature, in appreciating literature. So that is what the poet says. Shakespeare and literature have no place in the lives of these slum children. Cloudless dawn and civilized dome suggest the monotonous life in the slum. These slums are surrounded by the civilized city, and the children cannot experience the beauty of the sky at dawn and are unaware of it. All around them are concrete structures of the city. The life in the slum contrasts with the cloudless sky at dawn and concrete structure which override the cities. That is, the beauty of a cloudless sky at dawn and the civilized cities which are surrounding this particular slum area, both are not experienced by the slum children. They cannot even hope to experience these beauties. Belled flowery Tyrole's valley, open handed map awarding the world its world. So, apart from the sour cream walls which were painted with donations and the picture of Shakespeare, there is also another picture of a clear sky hung on the classroom walls which depicts dawn and a beautiful Tyrole's valley which indicates beauty and hope with its bells and colorful flowers representing the world that celebrates civilization, progress and heavenly splendor. So a beautiful picture of dawn and Tyrole's valley. Now Tyrole's valley you will find it is situated in Austria, most probably, if I'm not wrong. And over there, it's a beautiful scenery. It's a valley of flowers, and both the pictures, that of the dawn and the sunrise, and the valley of flowers, it's in contrast to the condition that the slum children are in. So those pictures hung on the walls of that elementary school classroom is very ironic because the children, they do not understand the importance of that picture. It is just for the sake of being there that it is hung. It does not have any importance in the lives of the children. So because these children of the slum, they will never be able to experience the beauty of these pictures as well as the real beauty which is depicted through these pictures. They are deprived of this beauty as they are condemned to live in the slums amidst garbage. The open handed map in the classroom contrasts with their world. The world given to us by God is full of all the bounties, that is, all the good things, all the abundance in nature that has been given to us by God. Whereas the world of these slum children is full of poverty and hunger. The world which they see is not the real world. Their world is confined to the narrow, dusty streets of the slum. So that is the only thing that they have seen, they have grown into, and they have not experienced anything good in life for which the map which is hung on the wall, it does not really portray their world, the poor world. Okay. The map in the classroom gives them hopes and aspirations and motivates them to explore the world, but they will never be able to see that world. So map means that there are various places on this world which are there to be explored, but these poor children, they want to escape. They have to escape their poverty first in order to venture out into the world. So which really seems very distant. It's a distant dream of being able to experience the outside world. So the map which is hung on the walls of the classroom, it does not portray the world of the slum children. It portrays another world, the world of the rich, the world of the discoverers who have given the world the map, who have conquered territories, who have outlined the borders and the boundaries of the countries. So, those worlds are different from the world of the poor children. And yet, for these children, these windows, not this map, their world, where all their futures painted with a fog. So these children can get the glimpse of the outside world from the windows, and it is far beyond their reach. They are far away from nature. These slum children have a bleak and foggy future in store for them. Their future is painted with a fog. It is blurred by hopelessness. There is no hope for the slum children. So the map does not really show them the real world. It is the windows which are exposing the children to the outside world. But when they look outside that window in their classroom, all they can see is fog. Their future, they don't see the cloudless dawn, they don't see the beautiful valley of flowers, but all they can see are the narrow, dusty streets in which they are trapped. And it seems that their future is hopeless, and it is painted with fog, another use of metaphor which denotes the utter despair, the utter hopelessness of these children, that they are trapped in the slum. A narrow street sealed in with a lead sky, far from rivers, capes, and stars of words. So instead of the normal blue sky, they live under the lead sky, which is very dark and dull. It is polluted, and it also stands as a symbol which shows that there is no hope for them. The atmosphere, it hints at their monotonous life, and the slum children remain confined throughout their lives, confined to the filth and dirt of the narrow slum streets. So they have to live eternally, live all their lives, birth after birth, maybe, who knows, in that dirty, filthy, narrow slum streets without any hope or expectation that they would be able to come out of the slum and venture into the outside world. They are away from the glory of natural beauty of the rivers, mountains that resembles adventure, excitement and beauty, as well as from the stars that symbolize wisdom that can brighten their future. So they are away from nature, they are away from education, maybe, because it does not seem that any sort of teaching goes on in that classroom, and they do not really aspire to anything in future. It is just a dull, drab, monotonous life for them. Their lives are stagnant. There is no growth in their lives. So I end my discussion of the first part here. Stay tuned for the remaining parts. Thank you.